Facebook.
So, all right, let's see who accepts the stream from the pre-show. Twitch has accepted the stream.
I always have mixed feelings about that.
YouTube has accepted
Too
the
many bad
stream.
associations with that word.
And Facebook has accepted the stream.
Wonderful.
I'm going to reset the timer.
Okay.
And then when you...
Oh, where's our... Do you still have your... There it is. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're on the most fun part of it. Yeah.
Okay, so when the timer says on the air, you're officially on the air, okay?
Okay. Welcome to Talking Peace with the Western New York Peace Center, being recorded here at Think Twice Radio, which is the home of the future, and also the home of our friend and producer, Richard Wicca. Thank you, Richard. And we also thank our friends at WBNY, where this is also going to be broadcast. Our friends at WBNY at Buffalo State University. It's the original alternative radio station for Buffalo, 91.3 FM, WBNY. Thank you, Greg, and everyone at WBNY. And when I think of thankfulness, I think about our indigenous family, really, and the way, and actually all Black, indigenous, and people of color, and anyone, so many people who realize that thankfulness is so important, and especially in the face of adversity, in the case of the indigenous people. I want to recognize that we are on stolen Haudenosaunee land, the land of the Seneca, or as they call themselves, the Onondaga, which we want to respect that, and the fact that that land was taken through trickery and violence. And yet, in spite of all of that, they still, have such, or maybe even because of all of that, the spirit of thankfulness for what we do have, for the strength and for all the things that keep people going. And that is why the Haudenosaunee start all of their events off the way we will, with remembering what there is to be thankful for, of thanking the people who made the gathering possible, of thanking Mother Earth for giving us everything we need for a good life here on Earth, for the living waters, Mini Wachoni, water is life, for all of the wonderful plants, the nutritional and medicinal plants, and the trees the wonderful trees that help us in so many ways. All of the different creatures, the swimming, crawling, four-legged and flying creatures, so many wonderful creatures and phenomena in our world, and also in the sky world with Brother Sun and Grandmother Moon, and just the whole sky world, and of course the Creator and the love that animates it all. And so then they would say Nyahweh, and the people would say Nyo. So Nyahweh.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I'm so glad to be here today with two people very close to my heart and close to everything. I'd say to my work, to my day-to-day, in all kinds of ways that change. Change happens all the time. So anyway, so our topic tonight is thank you, Alexica, Alicia, and our members. So we have here with us Alexica Perez, who is been our intern, is still our intern for 3 more days. I guess Saturday still counts, even though your hours will be done.
Yeah.
Who's graduating with her MSW from Fordham. Yay! Well, I guess we say yay, even though, we're sorry that the internship, well, it's always, everything has its, pluses and minuses. So we're just grateful that you've had your internship with us. So welcome, Alexica.
Thank you, Vicki. Yeah, it's been a long journey to get to my MSW. I'm so excited. I'm very thankful to the Peace Center for having me for the last 8-9 months. So it's it feels a little bit surreal right now to for it to be ending and then new beginnings, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But change is good. And also, I want to introduce Alicia Cabral. I know I always mispronounce your name by, by pronouncing it right, correct. It's what, who's to say what is correct is it, right? So anyway,
Well, technically, so Cabral is the Spanish way to say it. My
Right.
family says it Cabral,
Cabral.
because we're
and it's so close.
Filipino Americans.
Right. It's so close.
So they're both
anyway.
correct.
They're both correct. That's what I feel about so many things. So anyway, so Alicia is our office manager and started, was it September?
August or September.
Or August.
About
so
4 months now.
However long or short it's been so wonderful. So I want to say these two women right here, I cannot express my gratitude. I can't even begin to say what a difference you both have made. And lastly, I'll just mention, because we're also going to talk about the membership, because the Peace Center is a membership organization. I like to say membership driven, but I mean, and certainly that's true depending on how you consider membership too, because we have all kinds of members through their activism, through their collaboration, and most of our board members, and there's lots of members, but we need more. So anyway,
Yeah.
We'll get into that. But so first, let us do what we usually do. And so when we're thinking of thankfulness, actually, it's not only for Thanksgiving, thankfulness. So when we're thinking of thankfulness and thinking of, the work and the commitment that we share, if we just want to go round on that with what are the values you think of when you think about all of that. So, Alexica?
Yeah, when I think about thankfulness and in regards to the Peace Center, I think about all the different people who have led me to this point, right? There's so many different experiences, different folks that I was able to meet and talk with, different missions and different topics that we were able to discuss throughout my time at the Peace Center. So I'm so thankful for their fountains of knowledge and just being able to share it with me. I was reflecting on that today, and I was getting a little emotional and thinking about that, and just gonna continue doing the work and hopefully get to work with those folks again. So,
Right. Well, that
Yeah.
value of the people
Yeah.
and the people's knowledge and perspectives, right?
Yeah.
The different people's knowledge and perspectives, and then that shared commitment, really, to
Yeah.
the work. It's all wonderful values, so important. And Alicia?
It really brings to mind for me like the spirit of community and the reciprocity that has to come with
Right.
that. To me, thankfulness is about recognizing your own shortcomings and being grateful to other people for teaching you and imparting their wisdom to you. And in this context, especially, my favorite thing about working at the Peace Center is that I am constantly learning from all of the people that I meet. Such a wide array of experiences and ways that they give back. Not just to the Peace Center, but to the community in general, so that giving and taking and sharing of knowledge, that reciprocity is huge to me.
Well, thank you so much. Well, I'm so thankful for both of you. That's really what made me think of doing this show in this way. And I want to say, when I think of that, I think of, well, here it goes again, truth and love. Dr. King, unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word. And that truth being, I always love to think of the Tao of conversation. And so the different perspectives, and we were talking about this, and it's something to do with it can be about people's different talents and abilities, but also about people's different life experiences or perspectives, that we learn so much from each other and we get a much fuller view of the truth by sharing in those kind of ways and learning from each other, and that humility to know that what we see is just what we're seeing, and that other people who are coming from a different place or way, they see other things that we need to learn from. And love. I mean, love is really, the root. That love makes the world go round. Anybody remember that song?
Yeah.
Be careful,
You
I
have
might
to
start
replace it.
singing
Yeah.
it. But love makes the world go round, and certainly love is what animates the Peace Center, or animates any, really people's activism is motivated by love. Either sometimes it's for their family or for the community. Very often it is a really more abstract love of people in general that you just don't want to see suffer, whether they're here in your neighborhood or whether you known or unknown, or across the world where they're still suffering. And that love draws people to action. So those things, I think of that, and I think of it in relation to the work that both of you have been doing and that the membership does, and that bring people to the Western New York Peace Center, is that commitment to both those things, to the truth and love that is what it's all about. It animates it. So anyway, so let us move on to Alexica. So if you want to talk a little bit about like what led you to want to be a social worker, and then how that led you also to your internship here. How did that happen?
It's been a long journey to get to this point, I think. When I think about what led me to become a social worker, I think of my parents and like coming to the mainland U.S. They're from Puerto Rico. And coming here in the 90s and not being able to communicate, not having barriers to healthcare systems, to behavioral health care systems. And just being that person, it feels like I was kind of made to be a social worker because of those experiences. And actually, like, one of the biggest jumping points in me being a social worker is because my dad, this was back, I want to say in 2014, 2015, brought my resume to different places and like hand delivered them because he thought like, you need to be doing these things. And that's how I got my first job at Lakeshore Behavioral Health before
Really?
it was called Best Self. And I was a care manager there for a few years. I left, I did other things, didn't like it. And then I went to crisis services, and I worked on the New York State Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Hotline. And I fell in love with social work again. I think like the first time I just got burnt out. I didn't have the tools that I needed.
Right.
And then unfortunately that position moved, and I had to find an alternative position. So I went back to Best Self to the same position. And I knew, just coming back, I saw so many people burning out, and I knew that I had burnt out the first time. So I moved into a position in training at Best Self, and that's where I currently am. And I've been trying my best to, prevent other people from getting burnt out, giving them the tools that I wish I had. When I first started as a social worker, not an official social worker with a master's, but like a social worker nonetheless. I knew I wanted to help people.
Right.
So when I got into that position, I knew I needed to learn more. There was more to learn. And I feel like even after finishing my master's, it's just, an ocean of knowledge that still needs to be consumed, right? To more people to talk to, more things to do. The work, as you say, is never ending. Literally never ending. So that's kind of how why I decided to go back to school, get my master's. And it's been a long journey to get to this point, but one that I feel like my life has led me to.
It's funny that you say that, because I've always thought that social workers are born and not made. And it doesn't mean that we don't have plenty to learn that gets people to, to be a social worker or a better social worker and to keep
Yeah.
learning, and it's lifelong learning. But some of the attributes and desires, I want to say, that empathy and compassion, which is not exclusive to social work, but it's definitely central to social work. That comes from so many things about who we are, that person and environment, which is very social work. That's a
Yeah.
key social work concept,
Yeah.
right? So that happens, that happens. So I mean, and that's how I'm a social worker too, which is how are lucky to have social work interns, and we've been so blessed to have you. And so I'm going to turn it over to Alicia to just, if you want to say a little bit about how it, what you've seen, since you've been, here working with us, about Alexica and the Fordham program, and the work that she's been able to do for us.
Oh, absolutely. And I just have to say that since I took over as the office manager a few months ago, I was completely blown away that you were able to do what you were able to do, because really we were in a rough spot, and
Right.
we really needed the help. And I cannot thank you enough for not just keeping things going, but finding the energy and the time to do new things that wouldn't have happened without you at all,
Right.
which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit more.
Right.
But it's been a fantastic experience working with you. I can't say enough about, in general, I've worked with interns many times, and I can't say enough about like the actual process itself. It's something that, well, I don't believe in unpaid internships, of course, but like the apprenticeship model is something that is so important, and that real world experience that you get is essential. But even more so than that, it like I said again earlier, it was very much a reciprocal thing. You brought so much to the table. We learned so much from you while you were learning from the organization. And I'm sure that, like, yeah, the perspective of coming from a larger organization to a tiny organization that has, very limited resources was a big learning curve too. So we really appreciate you being able to do so much with so little. And yeah, I hope that you'll also be an ambassador for this program, because we need more help. We could always use more help, but MSWs will always, I think, have a special place in this work, specifically at the Peace Center. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for all you've done.
And thank you, because you came in and you kind of helped me in like our partnership. I cannot say enough how much it helped me kind of like with the work, because it's just so much to do all of the time, right? Like, so you coming on when you did was, I can't thank you enough for coming in when you did.
Well, I want to say, first of all, Alexica, when you started was when I was really right after I came back on into being the interim executive director. And we did not have an office manager, and we had some real rocky times before that. And of course, we're in a very rocky time in terms of the whole macro picture
Yeah.
and micro, meso, all of it,
It's all kind of,
yeah. So, and you
Overwhelming.
really, there were things, and I know you know what I'm talking about, that we really shouldn't have and wouldn't have wanted to ask you to do, that we needed you to do, and
Yeah.
that you did, and you stepped up to the plate. And between you and me, we sort of, got things going more so. And then having Alicia come on board has also been. So we're going to go around on Alicia too in a second, because I just want to say both of you have really done so much, and it's so important. And the Peace Center is so needed right now when you look at what's going on. The legacy and the history of the Peace Center being, for those of you who don't know, that the Peace Center was one of the first of Dr. King's clergy and laity concerned, that Reverend Ken Sherman, he was a Lutheran pastor at that time, was a Lutheran pastor here in Buffalo, and he went to hear Reverend Dr. King at Riverside, and he came back saying, we have to start up a chapter. And he went to Riverside Salem as the most likely candidate, not his own church, but another, but to Riverside Salem UCC, United Church of Christ, which has a long history of activism and progressive thinking over there themselves. But anyway, so the legacy was there, and the need, the principles and the spirit are good, and not perfect. I mean, there's all kinds of things, both of all kinds of, back to the humility that we each need, also organizational humility. And there's lots of other groups doing lots of great work, and that's one of the things we also really try to do, is be a good ally, be a good partner, because we're all in this together.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I'm going to say, so it's been so great to have you. You've done just well, first of all, we already knew by the fact that you're already doing social work through what you were doing and some of the program planning that you were doing at Best Self, really said you could do this, so you weren't just coming straight out of or just barely out of undergrad. But no, you were really already a professional, functioning professional. And then, so, we, kept pushing through, getting camp together, getting, helping with all these big rallies, getting involved with Power to the People, just really reviving different programs and everything. And then we were blessed to have Alicia come on board. And I want to say, Alicia, you have been so helpful. And Alicia, you have been so helpful. She just knocks it out of the park every time. You astound me at how much work you get done, how quickly, very efficiently, always looking at the big picture. Very, very, truth and love, on both sides. So anyway, so I just want to, what would you say about working with, well, you started to say about working with Alicia.
I think that it was the right time that she came in. I know I pushed a lot for an office manager. I knew that we needed her.
Right.
And, she kind of not fell into our lap, but it was like a miracle when she came in. And not to exaggerate, but it really felt like I needed a second pair of hands.
Well,
right?
we knew.
Yeah.
We knew that we needed an office manager, but we just needed to get to the point where we could get there, where we had the board, to get the board involved, to just be at a place where we could get it done. And then when we put it out, and this is why I'm going to be hopeful, when just little, what do I want to call it?
Teaser?
Yeah, teaser, spoiler alert, or whatever, that we will be, I want to say, I'd like to say momentarily, but we're very close to starting a search for an executive director. I'm the interim executive director. That is all I am. I'm not planning. This is not a lifetime appointment by any means. I'm a firm believer of old people get out of the way and give younger people a chance, and we're all needed and everything else. So I only hope and pray that our search for an executive director goes just a fraction as well, because all we did was put it out on our listserv.
It was like a day, and Alicia
called us that day, was within 24 hours, I think.
I think, I didn't want to waste any time.
No, and then we had you, and we had another very good applicant. I won't name any names, but another excellent applicant. So, but and so if we had had 2 jobs to hand out, then we might have had. So we had 2 great candidates, but you were definitely, the one, and then so we got right on those interviews, and then we got right on to hiring you, and ever since then I've been thanking our lucky stars, just it's really made such a difference to have you here.
Thank you. Yeah. It's been an honor, and I have been learning so much. I'm really, really grateful to be here. The board, all of the volunteers are just so fantastic, and I'm really blessed. So thank you. Thank you for your leadership too, Vicki. Like I know this is about Alexica and
you.
ostensibly
and
me,
you.
but the Peace Center wouldn't exist
Yeah.
without you right now. Like, you are literally the one that has been keeping it going. So, and your guidance has been enormous. Like, we really could not, we wouldn't be here without you,
Yeah.
either of us. And
I
we
wouldn't
have
be
so
able to
much to
finish my
learn from you.
master's. Yeah.
Well-
And you are so kind and generous to us. So thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
I know I'm very blessed. I've been very blessed to be part of what's going on, and I'm learning all the time too. Always, 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 and we're all so needed. So, yeah, it's been really wonderful to see the Peace Center just gradually getting onto the next level for this space and time. So, it's so, there's everything that's come before, and there's been peaks and valleys and in different ways, be better in this way and not as good in other ways. So, things that as the environment changes and the organization is changing, and that's a good thing. Although I'm going to say it's so often a mixed bag, Certainly our environment, the challenges to our democracy, the amount of state-sponsored violence is just heinous. It's always, of course, we go back to the origins of this country, which I was just alluding to, very, except for, well, not, yeah, mostly just alluding to. I mean, I was specific that the land has been taken through trickery and violence, but I mean, just wanton violence that was attempted genocide and just very, very bad acts. But it seemed like our democracy has been picking up steam, and improving, with hard-won battles from activists, right? And now we're at a point where things are so, well, very scary and really a lot of jeopardy to so many people, and yet crisis equal to opportunity. So that, actually, I'm going to say, I'll quote a friend of the show, Craig McIver, just such a wonderful and wise man, former longtime human rights attorney and expert, and was the senior human rights attorney at the UN. And he said, I have to thank Trump for taking the mask, sort of revealing things, and making things worse. I think he would definitely agree that they're making things worse. But a lot of things were also pretty bad before in ways that weren't as obvious or weren't as obvious to the bulk of the people, especially when you see that all our institutions are sort of lined up together in this, as they say, in this giant club, and you're not in it, and we're not in it, But anyway, it's a time where real activism is sorely needed to keep people safe, to keep them having their needs met, the mutual aid ways that we can help each other, and the building our solidarity is so important. So with that, why don't we talk a little bit about membership? So the Peace Center, it's always been a membership organization. Although there's not a bar, there's no kind of bar to membership. Our lowest budget membership is $10. So that's student and low income membership. People can be a member for as little as $10. And frankly, we have lots of people who have roles in the organization who may or may not have paid their $10, right? So, I mean, we do consider that there's other routes to membership through real activism, and we need active members. That's what we were just talking about earlier today. Not just, do we need money? Yes, we do. And we need money to hire a good executive director and support them with the support that they need to be able to do the job that we need an executive director to do. But we also need to grow the membership and and the activism of the membership. So some and people have different abilities and situation. So some people, it really will be, I can't do it, but I can pay some money, so that's what I'll do. Some people will be, I can't pay anything, or maybe I can pay $10, but I can't pay much of anything, but I can help with some work. So there's a whole range, and there's everything in between for the whole range. But why don't you, if you want to say, what do you think about membership when you think about membership in general and then membership in particular?
Well, for membership, I'm interested to have more folks joining the Peace Center in 2026. I think that we have got a really good rhythm that's going. We are taking more grassroots organizations under our wing,
Yes.
under our umbrella.
Right.
And what we're looking to do is really expand on those organizations as well as our task forces, and really get voices like, in there to kind of direct the Peace Center to another level, right? So getting more folks who are interested in immigration rights and what's going on with ICE. Having folks coming in and also helping with what's going on with women's rights and all of these different things that are going on in the world today. And we need members who are looking to be engaged, who aren't necessarily able to like be boots on the ground, but can help in other ways. So
Right.
it doesn't necessarily, look like a certain thing, for members to participate. It could be writing a letter or, sharing a post, or there's different types of activism that is valid. And that's what we're looking to do, is just grow the organization so that, we can have these different types of, members doing different things. So,
Right.
yeah.
No, well put. Yes, all
Yeah.
of those things. Alicia?
100% agree with all of that. I would just also say, I think that one of the most important parts of membership or volunteerism right now is building solidarity with your community, no matter what that looks like. So we started doing monthly membership nights because of Alexica.
Yay,
Excellent
Alexica.
idea. And they are really just about socializing. There's a little bit of an agenda. We are always going to, of course, talk about what our task forces are doing and our upcoming events and stuff, but it's really about getting together, sharing food, talking about what's on our minds, not necessarily about political things or about peace, but just being in the same space together with people that we know are our allies and who want to build a mutual aid network together. That has been really healing for me during this administration. I think we all need that. So it's not just about, paying your dues or volunteering, which of course we need both, but
Right.
this is a wonderful way to be in community with people who really care about lifting one another up and protecting one another. And protecting one another is huge right now. With
Yes.
the ICE raids and everything that's happening, our neighbors need us, and we need to be vocal about our support for them. So that's a huge reason why I'm grateful to be part of that community. I think all of us can feel very isolated with what's going on. A nonstop barrage of the news, but there's definitely comfort in knowing that there are other people who are fighting the good fight. And again, like you said, whether you're showing up to the protests, whether you're acting as a peacekeeper at the protest, that's an amazing way to volunteer. We need more people doing that, being trained in medical first aid, that kind of stuff. But again, as you said, the behind the scenes activism is just as important. Calling your elected officials, writing and sharing things on. I can't tell you how many people thank me for sharing stuff on Instagram, which I know sounds dumb, but people that I know have been radicalized by posts in a good way and in a bad way. So, I mean, they
sure.
can be radicalized towards love and truth and progressive ideals as well. And I have found that to be the case myself. So that, that kind of, all of that is
Right.
Yeah.
important.
Right. No,
Yeah.
those are so many ways that people can be active. And you're making me think of, I was just blessed to be part of a gathering that was on Zoom by a friend of mine who's been very involved in Chicago. And I should have known that he and his Filipino boyfriend, because of that, I should have known that he would be, and not just knowing him, I knew I had to know that he would be very much involved. So I just called him to say hi, and he said, well, I'm busy right now, but I'm going to be leading this panel in very shortly if you want to join us. So I did. And so the activist, so as people know, I mean, first of all, we have lots of ICE activity here, and I'm going to say we at the Western New York Peace Center are very much about helping in every way with Buffalo Rapid Response Network, Bird from very intently with Buffalo Rapid Response Network, and also with Buffalo Immigration and Refugee Defense as well, and certainly Justice for Migrant Families and all the great settlement agencies as well. But with those, sort of in that order of how much we're involved with them. So it's because it's a high profile and high risk area. I think that the Peace Center, that's one of the reasons why, certainly for me personally, that's one of the reasons why I'm drawn there, because, some people can't do as much because it's so important. First of all, it's the Niemeyer quote. I keep saying, we have to do this is the thin end of the wedge, as they call it, because they're going for the people who are more vulnerable and where they have a little bit more, through a lot of misinformation and everything, trying to villainize people, which that effort has been going on continually. I just want to say, no one is illegal on stolen land. So anyway, but anyway, I was on the Zoom call with this group, and the woman who was an activist and a mom, and even brought her child onto the screen with her at one point. But anyway, she said, there is no hierarchy in this work. There's so many parts that are needed. So just as you were saying, so she's saying the high risk things, the high danger things, those are important and those are needed, but they're not more important than the person who says, I'll do your child care, I'll stay with your child while you're doing that. Or let me bring food to you all wherever you are, so you can keep doing whatever it is that you were working on. Those pieces are just as important. And I love what you said about the community, because we really are building community. And I want to say, at the Western New York Peace Center, I hope, and I think one of the things that I have put a lot of energy into is being a good ally, being a good collaborator, trying, and sometimes I think certainly for myself, that the tendency to to just, have too many things going on, which doesn't, there is a limit, too much is too much. We were just talking about that today too. But it's so important that we are collaborating, working together, being in solidarity. We're grateful for Buffalo United Coalition, very grateful to be a part of Buck. And there's just so much that is happening and so much that needs to happen right now. We're in such a critical space. So I really feel, that building of community, social media is such a powerful tool, but it's also a tool that's under the control of other levers that are not so well intentioned, as we already know. So, so that's so we can use that as long as it's useful, and it's been mostly irresistible because it is so useful. However, that can be shut down in a second. And so our other ways of being in community, our other being in touch with our neighbors, getting to know our neighbors, getting to build solidarity and build trust. Building trust is so important, and certainly with everything about ICE, but in so many ways is so important. So we need to work on that, and that's one thing that I think we're doing with the membership nights as well, is building that closeness and familiarity. Certainly with affinity groups, when people are planning either civil disobedience or civil resistance, that building trust. Well, we know it. Social workers or psychologists, anybody who studied early childhood development knows that trust is the first thing. Am I safe? Is the world a safe place? Or not? That trust issue is the first one that's dealt with, and we really don't connect with people if we don't trust them. So that trust is really critical, and that's something that we work on too. And being trustworthy is part of that, and also learning and listening to each other is also part of it. So why don't we talk about the members night a little bit, because we have one coming up that is as we're taping this on the 17th, December 17th, it was coming up on December 18th. So that'll be our next membership night. And for those of you who are hearing this on Monday, the 22nd, we will have already had it, but we'll have more, so don't worry. But so let's talk a little bit about that. So, Alexica, if you're the one who started us on the membership nights, if you want to talk about what made you think of that.
Yeah, I just thought, just echoing what Alicia was saying earlier, it is overwhelming what's going on in the world right now, and a lot of us feel alone. And I wanted to start something that would allow people to get to know the Peace Center, get to know each other, be in community, kind of have the same kind of feeling that I get when I go to a rally, right? You have that communal healing piece where you can be around people who are fighting for the same rights or, fighting for the same cause.
Right.
In one place, but also, a place where you don't have to think about what's going on, and you can if you want to, right? But also being together is important right now. It more so than ever, I think. So for the upcoming members night tomorrow, it will start off with a members meeting beforehand at 5:30. I believe.
Yeah, membership committee meeting. Yeah,
membership committee meeting at 5:30, and then it's gonna just naturally roll into our monthly members night, which is mostly just gonna be celebrating the end of the year and being together and just enjoying each other's company, looking towards the new year, hopefully talking about new and exciting things that are going to be going on in 2026 as we continue to fight for justice and peace. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Alicia?
Do I have anything to add about
is there?
members
Yeah.
night?
Do you have anything exactly?
I would just say the first couple ones that we've had have been really amazing. Great groups of people coming out, bringing really good food too. So I highly recommend. But yeah, so we call it Members Night, and we want all of our members to come. But if you're not a member, we also want you to be there to meet everybody, see if it's a good fit for you, hear about what we have planned. It's nothing to pressure you into writing a check there or anything, but again, just build community. See what we're all about. I guarantee you'll meet some fantastic people. It's a really great group of people.
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
It is a great group of people, I have to say. And it's great to get together. We do, now this time we're starting with the membership committee meeting. So that's really about doing membership drive, because back to, it's partly about the organization and it's partly about the struggle, really, the movement or the struggle. So, we need more members, and we want more members. We want a diverse membership. We want an active membership, and we want to make that happen and facilitate that happening, make it easy for that to happen to people, for people to join in. And so that, and in fact, that's one of the reasons why I think we're going to have, by the way, We will when this is playing on WBNY on Monday the 17th. We will just have had a call-in show. So I guess for those of you who are hearing it beforehand, be forewarned that at noon you could join in and just air your thoughts, or come to the membership night if you're listening now. Come tomorrow, Thursday the 18th, anytime after 5:30 and before, let's say 7. We'll be there till 7 or 7:30, something like that. We'll just catch the temperature of, starting at 5:30.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, starting at 5:30. Come ahead, and we'll just, one of the things that we're doing with members night also is we do have a piece of. It makes me think of one of my favorite radio stations. It's a jazz. If ever anyone's heard of WNCU, coming out of North Carolina Central University, is an excellent jazz station as well. But anyway, they always say, I like jazz and information. So we do give a little bit of information so that we will give, like, for example, the fact that we, some of the many campaigns that we're involved with, or events that we're planning, or that our allies and partners are planning. So we'll talk a little bit about some of that. One of them being especially our annual membership meeting, which is going to be January 24th. And all of this is on the Peace Center calendar, wnypeace.org. So we do some of that, but also there'll be other times, and certainly we want people to, have the downtime and everything. But we did, what have we done? We did, actually, this was before Members Night, but it was very related, and we're ready to do it again sometime when LaDeja can join us, is to do bingo. Yeah. Bingo, or even if somebody wants to help us get it together, do like a peace, justice and peace oriented Jeopardy kind of thing, yeah. Or just game playing or jamming. I'm always wanting us to be jamming. I think there's not enough music in the movement, so we need more music in the movement. So there's all kinds of things, and you can be part of deciding what that is too. Yeah. So, we're always ready to hear more about what people want. That's why the task forces are a matter of, they can be in flux. So over the years, and I want to say over the 58 years that the Peace Center has been in operation, there have been different issues at different times that were getting worked on. And even over that, I started working with the Peace Center in 2008. So over that period, I can tell you of numerous task forces that have come and gone with the interest of people to do them. And when the interest is higher, then we have it. And then when the interest is lower, then we don't have it. I'm going to say the needs are many. So it's about the person power to do it. That's something we were talking about earlier today, too. So bring your passion, bring your issue that you want to talk about, you want to work on, because you're very likely to find a lot of people who want to help with that. So that's part of what membership night is as well, because the Peace Center is growing and changing all the time. So the right now our task forces are the Resist Militarism Task Force, which, first of all, that can include the militarization of the police and everything. We've been very upset about Cop City, our own version of Cop City that's going on, or just the militarization of the police in general, making sure that the police are not collaborating with ICE. So P.S. Let's get our legislators to activate New York for All. That's another. You'll see some of that on our website, perhaps, but mostly, especially on our social media, and certainly if you're on our Talking Peace News listserv. If you're not, you should write to office@wnypeace.org to get put on our benchmark, or Talking Peace News listserv. But anyway, so there's that. then there's the Latin American Solidarity Committee, very active committee, has been doing a lot of really wonderful and terrible programs on ICE because such a distressing and terrible situation what's going on with the illegal acts of our government, going after innocent people and in a violent way to people who are nonviolent or who are following the law. A lot of them seeking asylum, which is, legal and a human right under international law. But anyway, so the Latin American Solidarity Committee, of course, Power to the People. God bless Power to the People. Wonderful, and they've really taken over the peacekeepers training and peacekeeper organizing and all of that, and a whole training program, and are working right now on a training to help people about ICE, to deal with ICE when they do come upon them. And what am I missing?
Environmental justice.
Oh, thank you, and environmental justice. Thank you, environmental justice with Dr. Tammy Malillo, who's is a board co-chair, and she and Diane Hinman are heading up that task force. So she does talks with Tammy. And then last but not least, it's not quite a task force, but we do have our youth leadership programs that are going to be activating in the spring, in the new year. So that's exciting too. So those are all ways that people can get involved, but those are just some of the ways. And I always like to put a little blank and say your idea here,
Yeah.
So what about what are some of the ways that people can get involved? I know that we've talked about in a general way, but some of the ways that you see as most likely or most easy access for people.
I think like the biggest way to get involved is just coming and going to meetings, like local meetings. I know that there's one that's going to be happening, not necessarily here, but there's one in Batavia that's coming up on the 18th, on the New York State Stamp Act.
Yes,
that's coming up.
yes.
So even showing up to those meetings, sending emails, signing up for different organizations, including our benchmark,
Right.
sharing feedback, sharing ideas. I think, it doesn't necessarily mean, going and again, boots on the ground,
Right.
which is great if you want to get involved that way, but also not everybody can get involved that
Right.
way, for one reason or another. So, just becoming involved in ways that feel authentic and right to you and what you can do, right? Whether it be virtual or be, in person.
Those are all great ways. Any that you want to add that you can think of?
Not add necessarily, but I would like to reiterate and highlight that we do have some upcoming trainings for peacekeepers, medical first aid, and responding to ICE locally, which I think is huge. I think those ICE trainings, everybody in Buffalo should be doing. It doesn't mean that you have to do anything else except for just be prepared if you happen to be a witness nearby one. I would also, again, reiterate reaching out to us at office@wnypeace.org to get added to our email listserv. We all send out a ton of great information. Not frequently. We're not going to flood your inbox, but we do send out a lot of great information about upcoming protests, educational opportunities, trainings, etc. That not just our own, but our other allied organizations that are all doing incredible work. So it's really a nice summary of what's happening and how you can get involved there. Again, without any obligation, but a way to keep up with what's happening locally. There's so much, and it's easy to get
Yes.
overwhelmed by the just flood of information. So if there are social justice issues that you're looking to get involved with, but you're not sure which one yet, get on that newsletter list and just see what comes up that sounds interesting to you that would match your skills. We could always use people who are good at social media communications.
Yes.
We could always use volunteers to help with that kind of outreach if that's something that you're good at, passionate about. But there's a million ways that you can get involved. As Vicki said, we are a member-driven organization. Everything comes from our members. The task forces that exist are wonderful, but they don't have to be the only ones that exist.
Right.
As she said, if there's something that you're passionate about that we're not really working on right now that doesn't have a home somewhere else in Western New York, come talk to us, talk to our board, see how we can support what you may already be doing or something that's not being done where there's a hole that we can fill that gap. There are really no wrong answers. I think we're a really creative group who does a lot of problem solving together. So we can find something for you no matter what, I think.
Right. Well, as you're saying that, I'm thinking, yeah, the racial justice task force that we had, which is, it's not like that problem has gone anywhere. And in fact,
But there are other people working on it too. So
Right.
there's always like the connections that we can make too.
And that's the other thing is it doesn't mean that there aren't other groups working on some of the same thing, and that's where it's back to the collaborating. It's back to, we're stronger together and we pull a lot more people. The Buffalo United Coalition protests that we've had that have had somewhere between 7 to 10,000 people and similar to the Women's March protests before, which really were about our comprehensive issues because, as I always like to say, all our issues are all connected, and they're and our solutions, and we are all connected. So, the Gender Justice Task Force that we've had, that we still should have, and that's another thing we were talking about earlier today. We have had it. I mean, that was the Women's March. So the Women's March very much focused on women's issues. And then when we say gender, then there's really the whole LGBTQ. And God knows there are, thank God, there are other great groups like the Pride Center and GLIS and all kinds of great groups working on that. But we could have an arm working on that too, and we do, but, again, as a, I say small but mighty. I don't know how mighty, and I don't know how small, still fairly small, but we like to be, just do what's best for the community, and really stand by the principles and the spirit that have been, what started the Peace Center in the first place and what really spurs people onto activism. So that's what we want to foster. That's what we want to be part of, through the organization, but also, through the movement building and the being united in the struggle. So with all of our wonderful colleagues and activists, all of our allies and partners, all of our followers. So sometimes, I say our members and followers because there's a lot of people who think they're members of the Peace Center, but they might not have,
Officially.
Yeah. Yeah. So all I can say is we are all in this together. I can say, thank God you're going to be with us, Alicia. And actually, that's one thing that we've talked about, not to put any pressure. It's totally whatever works for you, when it works for you. But Alexica, we're so grateful to all the work you've done with us. And we're so glad that you're still going to be in Buffalo. And we're certainly all in this together. I want to say, you both have done so much, and we're grateful, so grateful for you both, for all the members and activists and, all of us, known and unknown. We're all in this together. So we've been talking peace. This is Talking Peace, and we've been talking peace in truth and love. So that's a wrap. That's it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.